Tell us about what themes you're seeing emerge.
I mean, the surveys that we entered in Excel so far, the first 20 were all from Maplewood.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, because they were in order in the stack.
Sure.
But I mean.
Okay. So most of them in Maplewood, at least, had been around for more than 10 years. A lot of them were like roughly like 25 years, and I think that they had been a kind of like redone.
Yeah, they've kind of like changed their image over the year, like recently, because Maplewood kind of redefined itself.
Yeah, to match what the consumers wanted.
Yeah, so I think a lot of the like older businesses changed their image, kind of when it.
And it seemed that a lot of the successful businesses in Maplewood were all lined up with each other on Manchester, and then some of the ones off to the side weren't doing as well. So some of the businesses said that they had moved from side streets of Maplewood to Manchester, and that had really helped their business a lot. And since then, they've been thriving.
Location, location, location.
Most of the places were retail or service, a lot of food places, and then just general.
You had like your
stores, I guess.
like random like law firm or something, but mostly it's like clothing stores and restaurants and stuff like that.
Between the like clothing stores and like little gift shops and stuff, they all had about 10 to 15 customers daily, whereas in the Loop, most of the answers we were getting were about 50 to 100. So
I guess the Loop might have been like more popular for a daytime type of thing.
More of the Maplewood places had a low amount of employees, but they were mainly full-time, whereas the Loop kind of had mixes. It really just depended on the business that you're talking about as far as that went. And a lot of them were paid hourly in the Loop, whereas in Maplewood a lot of them were salary.
And then something kind of surprising, I thought was like in both areas they said most of the people said that their business was growing, and I mean a lot of people said there were like a lot of challenges because of the economy, but they also said their business was growing. So I mean I guess customers are looking into like both places have unique types of stores, so I guess customers are kind of leaning towards that.
And competition, a lot of people said none, and then later on they would talk about other businesses, so kind of inconsistent on their answers as far as that went. But I don't know, I think the more unique the business was, the less competition they actually had, which is kind of an obvious answer to that. And then changes, a lot of people did redesign like the layout and format of the interior of their buildings, and they hadn't changed much else other than that. Somebody also talked about different slogans, kind of just
new advertising. So, and a lot of people started incorporating the internet in their advertising to, I guess, get themselves out there more.
So that was pretty much it.
That's great.
Okay, so basically my corporation is kind of like a mixture between the last two things on that list, because my corporation's based upon troubleshooting problems in other corporations. So basically what my corporation does, if I were to create this corporation, it'd be to go out and get money, like for say from a venture capitalist or from a bank or from a hedge fund, and get a significant amount of money. Then I'd go out and buy a somewhat failing company that has some kind of profit potential. So I'd buy the majority of that company either through public shares, so I can buy them through the stock market, or I can go over to the owner and go, your company is failing, if you let me buy your company, I can help it out. And then from there, what I would do is I would analyze the management structure of that company and either restructure it or reinstate new management, which I picked. And then what I would do, is I would run this company until it became profitable, and then I would sell the company either back to the shareholders through the public market, or back to whoever wants to buy the company after it's become profitable. And then from there, I'd move on to the next company. So basically what I'm doing is I'm looking for small companies medium, not really small companies, but medium to large companies that have profit potential but aren't really like going through and like working to their full potential. A prime example of this would be McDonnell Douglas. Back when they were really big, they had a lot of, no one needs that anymore. They had a lot of overhead, and they had a lot of, like redundancies in their company. And the problem was, like, they became really lazy. So when they got bought out, the people who came into the company and went through and basically like trimmed all the fat of the company and made it profitable once again. And that's basically the goal of my corporation, is to buy small corporations, make them profitable, and then turn them back around so that I can then get money. So the checklist, in order to like determine whether or not I should invest this money into a company, because it's not really a small amount of money, so if I lose this money, I'm kind of sunk. Because, you know, you can't just go out and, you know, go to a bank and go, I'd like to go buy, can you give me some money, I have to go buy a corporation. I mean, you have to have a significant amount of wealth in order to actually go about and do this. So you need to have people with really deep pockets, or a hedge fund that's willing to take part in this really risky endeavor. So what I have to do is I have to like determine the demand market for whatever product it is. Because,
Bye, John. Thank you.
Bye, John.
That was really sneaky.
Yeah, I think I was boring them to death. Continuing forward, so
Scaring him to death.
so what I would do is I would like determine like whether or not there is a demand for this product, because like there's no point in me going to go and save a typewriter company that's going to go bust, because you know that they have no real profit potential. So what I have to do is I have to do research to see whether there's a demand now, or even if there isn't a demand now, whether or not there would be a demand in the future. A prime example of this would be nanotechnology, because that's one of the things. There's not really a demand for it now, but it's one of those things that's really going to like move forward in the future. So I like invest in companies like that. The second thing I'll do on my checklist is understand the product market, because that's one of the big things you have to understand. Because if you're buying a shoe company, you have to know what the shoe market is like, what exactly goes on in that market. So that's another big thing that I have to do research on, is the actual market in which I'm going to be competing in. And since, you know, my company goes out and buys smaller companies, I got to figure out, I got to be like knowledgeable in all these subject areas. So I have to take the time in the beginning, because if I'm doing a company in cars or manufacturing, then it's going to be much different than a company in something else of that sort. And then after that, I've got to understand the company's that didn't happen. What I have to do is I have to understand like the company's management structure, and basically their previous shortcomings. Why were they not achieving their full profit potential? So what I have to do is I have to go through and make sure that I'm not making the same mistakes as the company that I bought was making before I actually bought it. Then I'd understand whether or not that was a problem due to like the supply chain management, or whether or not it was like the business practices of that company, whether or not they were like advertising properly, management structure of that sort. And then after that, what I've got to do is I've got to run the company. I've got to reinstate my own management or change their management around so that they can actually turn a profit. And then I need an exit option when I'm done with all of this with the company, whether or not to keep the company, you know, just keep the company. I probably won't be able to keep the company since I borrowed some exuberant amount of money from some hedge fund, that I'd probably have to sell the company in order to pay them back and then move on to the next one. But if I did somehow have this exuberant amount of money in the beginning, then I could actually keep the company and then use that to make more money. And then, you know, I see this as a good thing, because I'm helping out the economy. I'm helping out companies that would actually, you know, contribute to this country's GDP and actually help move the economy forward. I'm not just moving money from one account to the other and then back again, and then taking profit from that. Okay, so now I'm going to go into funding, how exactly I'm going to get the money in order to take part in this endeavor. And the main thing that I'm going to have to do is find venture capitalists, someone with like $100 million but not really doing anything that I could use for this. That would be kind of tough. Hedge funds would probably be my best bet, because they're willing to take part in risky endeavors, and they'd probably be willing to fund me. Loans, yeah, I already said that one. And then the third option is become rich. That would also help. I think that's basically the basis of my company. I can explain how I'm planning on getting the money, but I think you guys are gonna like go into a comatose state if I continue talking any longer, so I'll probably stop.
That was good.
No, that was